It all began on a seemingly ordinary evening. I had spent the better part of the afternoon preparing a meal for my family. The aroma of freshly cooked soup filled the kitchen, and I felt a sense of pride as I ladled it into bowls. Dinner, after all, is more than just food. It's a moment to connect, share, and unwind together after a long day. But what I didn't expect was that this simple act of love and care would suddenly turn into a moment of shock and fear. As I placed the bowl of soup in front of my son, I noticed a look of displeasure cross his face. I brushed it off at first, thinking perhaps he was just tired or having a bad day. Then, without any warning, he lashed out physically. My own son, the child I had raised and nurtured, struck me over something as trivial as the soup not having enough salt. My mind froze as I struggled to comprehend how a minor culinary oversight could trigger such an extreme reaction. It wasn't just the pain of being hit, it was the emotional jolt of realizing that the person who depended on me for care could react with aggression in that way. A rush of emotions overwhelmed me: shock, hurt, disbelief, and even a little fear. My first instinct was to step back, protect myself, and make sense of what had just happened. I kept asking myself how the situation had escalated so quickly. Was it something I had done wrong, or was there something deeper going on within him that I hadn't noticed? I realized this incident, though minor on the surface, was a wake-up call. It revealed underlying issues, emotional turmoil, communication breakdown, and perhaps unmet needs simmering beneath the surface. I knew I had to approach the situation carefully, not only to address the immediate conflict, but also to understand the root cause and prevent it from happening again. A simple bowl of soup lacking salt had unexpectedly revealed deep emotional challenges within our family. It was a moment that shook me to my core, yet it also became a turning point for reflection, understanding, and ultimately change. When my son struck me, the first wave that hit was pure shock. I froze, unable to believe what had happened. The mind doesn't immediately process unexpected aggression, especially from someone you've nurtured, guided, and loved unconditionally. I kept replaying the moment in my mind. How could a simple bowl of soup provoke such a violent reaction? My body tensed, my heart raced, and for a moment I felt detached from reality, as though I were watching a scene in a movie rather than living it. Soon after the shock came an overwhelming sense of hurt, not just physical, but deeply emotional. I had spent time and effort preparing a meal, an act of care and love, yet that gesture was met with violence. It stung like a betrayal and revealed a breakdown in communication and empathy. Confusion quickly followed. I couldn't understand how something so small could escalate to physical aggression. I wondered whether he was stressed, frustrated, or struggling with something I didn't know about, and whether I had failed in some way as a parent. The questions raced through my mind without offering clarity. Then fear settled in, quiet but persistent. I worried about my safety and about what this behavior might mean for the future. Could it escalate further? Was this a sign of deeper emotional struggles? This fear wasn't just about the physical act, but about the fragility of trust and the vulnerability we feel when someone close to us lashes out. Expressing these emotions is not weakness. It is acknowledging our humanity. Shock, hurt, confusion, and fear are natural responses to aggression from someone we love. Sharing these feelings is the first step toward healing and transforming painful experiences into opportunities for growth.
What struck me most about that evening was not just that my son hit me, but the sheer unexpectedness of his behavior. Children, even when frustrated, rarely resort to physical aggression over something as trivial as the taste of a meal. As a parent, you expect occasional tantrums or complaints, but physical lashing out crosses a different threshold. It signals a disruption in emotional regulation, where normal frustration becomes something more intense and concerning. The contrast between the trivial cause and the extreme reaction was jarring. A bowl of soup lacking salt is not a crisis. It is a minor imperfection easily addressed with words or a simple request. Yet the situation erupted like a spark, igniting a fire, revealing emotional volatility I hadn't recognized. This unexpected behavior disoriented me and forced me to consider deeper underlying issues: anger, stress, frustration, or unmet needs that may have been building over time. Behavior often speaks louder than words, and even small incidents can expose significant struggles beneath the surface. Such extreme reactions should never be dismissed as just a phase. They are red flags indicating that boundaries, communication, and emotional understanding need attention. The abruptness of his reaction became a wake-up call, shattering the sense of predictability in our interactions and compelling me to observe more carefully, listen more deeply, and prioritize both safety and emotional growth. This moment, as shocking as it was, marked the beginning of a journey toward better communication, understanding, and healthier emotional regulation. The moment my son struck me, my mind raced, but my body instinctively moved into a mode of caution and self-preservation. In situations like this, the initial response is critical, not only for physical safety, but also for setting the tone for what comes next. I realized that reacting with anger or shouting could escalate the situation, turning a moment of conflict into a cycle of aggression. Instead, I focused on staying calm, grounding myself, and creating a small space between us. Stepping back, I took a deep breath, trying to slow my racing thoughts. My first priority was to protect myself, but I also wanted to avoid humiliating him or creating shame, which could worsen the behavior. It was a delicate balance, asserting my boundaries while leaving room for communication once the emotions settled. This required conscious effort because my heart was pounding, my body tense, and a part of me wanted to react angrily. At the same time, I spoke softly, choosing my words carefully. Stop. This isn't acceptable. I wanted him to understand the seriousness of his action without escalating the situation further. I reminded myself to remain emotionally present, knowing that being too cold could damage our relationship, while being too emotional could intensify the conflict. As the intensity began to subside, I observed him closely, looking for signs of remorse, confusion, or lingering anger. His behavior was likely fueled by emotions he couldn't fully control or articulate, and staying calm allowed me to model emotional regulation. This immediate response also gave me time to reflect on what needed to happen next, addressing the behavior, setting boundaries, and later discussing the deeper reasons for his outburst. How we respond under pressure can either intensify conflict or create opportunities for understanding. Choosing patience, calm communication, and protective but non-punitive action helped transform a painful moment into the beginning of a constructive process, shaping a path toward reconciliation and learning. After the initial shock faded and our emotions settled, I knew it was important to reflect on what had caused such an extreme reaction. On the surface, it seemed minor, a bowl of soup lacking salt. But the soup wasn't the real trigger. It was simply the spark that ignited a deeper emotional tension that had been building unseen. I asked myself whether I had missed signs of stress or frustration in my son, whether he was dealing with issues at school or with friends, or whether there were unmet emotional needs he hadn't expressed. Aggression, especially when disproportionate, is rarely random. It is often a message that something significant is happening internally. Reflecting on the situation helped me recognize that there might have been earlier warning signs, times when he was irritable, withdrawn, or unusually reactive, that I had dismissed as typical childhood behavior. The intensity of this incident made it clear that these were not just minor mood swings, but indicators of emotions needing acknowledgement and guidance. Reflection also required me to consider my role as a parent. Parenting is never one-sided, and the way we communicate, set expectations, and handle discipline shapes how children express their emotions. I wondered whether my tone, my routines, or my reactions might have contributed to a sense of pressure or frustration. This wasn't self-blame, but an effort to understand the full context of the situation and identify how I could support healthier emotional development. Reflecting on the cause transformed the incident from a moment of pain into an opportunity for insight. It allowed me to move forward with clarity and patience, focusing on addressing the root of the issue, supporting my son emotionally, and preventing similar outbursts in the future. After considering the causes of my son's outburst, I realized that I also had a responsibility in the situation. Taking responsibility didn't mean excusing his behavior or accepting blame for his aggression. Instead, it meant acknowledging that parenting is a shared journey in which my communication, reactions, and guidance play a significant role. Every tone of voice, expectation, and routine contributes to the emotional environment in which children learn to express themselves. I asked myself difficult questions. Had I been too strict or unintentionally critical? Had I dismissed his feelings or assumed he should manage his frustrations alone? Small parental choices can feel much larger to a sensitive child, and recognizing this helped me understand where I could improve our communication. Taking responsibility also meant owning my response to his aggression, ensuring I handled the moment constructively rather than reacting with anger or fear. It involved modeling calmness, patience, and empathy, demonstrating the behavior I wanted him to learn. It meant creating opportunities for him to express himself safely and making sure he understood appropriate boundaries without feeling shamed. This responsibility extended beyond the immediate moment. It required me to see the bigger picture of our relationship and acknowledge how my actions influenced his emotional world. By embracing this awareness, I was able to shift from frustration to purposeful action, focusing on strengthening our bond, improving communication, and fostering emotional intelligence. Ultimately, taking responsibility is not about guilt, but about intentionality. It is about recognizing that even painful moments offer a chance to reflect, learn, and make deliberate choices that guide children toward healthier emotional expression. Through this, I turned a moment of conflict into a turning point for growth for both my son and myself.
After the shock and reflection, I realized that one of the most critical steps in addressing my son's behavior was setting clear and firm boundaries. Boundaries are not about punishment or control. They are about safety, respect, and creating an environment where both children and parents understand what behavior is acceptable and what is not. In that moment, it became clear that physical aggression could never be tolerated, no matter the frustration behind it. I calmly explained to my son that hitting was completely unacceptable, using a steady, firm voice to communicate the seriousness of the situation. I emphasized that while emotions like anger and frustration are normal, they must never be expressed through violence. Clear communication and consistency were key, so I outlined specific consequences for crossing those boundaries, making sure he understood that actions have direct effects. I wanted him to know that the boundary was about respect, not punishment, and that it existed to protect both of us and the relationship we share. Setting boundaries also meant modeling appropriate behavior myself. I understood that children often learn more from what they see than from what they are told. By remaining calm, expressing my own feelings and words, and avoiding yelling or retaliation, I demonstrated healthier ways of handling anger and frustration. Boundaries are reinforced not only through rules and consequences, but also through consistent examples of emotional regulation and respectful communication.
At the same time, I reassured him that it was okay to feel upset or frustrated. Those emotions are natural, but they must be expressed safely. I encouraged him to talk about his feelings, draw, write, or use physical activity as an outlet rather than resorting to aggression. By combining firm boundaries with safe emotional expression, I hope to teach him self-control and empathy, helping him understand that his actions affect others and that he has the ability to manage his emotions constructively. Setting boundaries became not just a response to the incident, but a framework for our relationship moving forward, one rooted in trust, respect, and safety. Firm boundaries, coupled with love and guidance, can transform moments of conflict into opportunities for learning and growth, reminding me that boundaries are not restrictive, but protective. After the incident and establishing clear boundaries, I came to recognize that managing the situation alone would not be enough. Some challenges in parenting extend beyond personal instincts, and seeking professional help is not a sign of failure, but a step toward understanding and growth. I realized that my son's extreme reaction might be rooted in emotional struggles, stress, or difficulties he couldn't yet articulate, and I wanted to ensure he received the proper support to process his feelings safely. I reached out to therapists, counselors, and parenting experts who could provide tailored guidance for both my son and me. Their expertise offered tools for emotional regulation, communication strategies, and conflict resolution techniques that I had not been aware of. Through these consultations, I learned to recognize triggers, understand the deeper causes of aggression, and respond in ways that were constructive rather than reactive. This knowledge gave me clarity and confidence rather than fear or uncertainty. Seeking help also highlighted the importance of collaboration. It wasn't just about addressing my son's behavior, it was about understanding his emotional world, identifying unmet needs, and creating a safe environment for expression. Professionals helped me see the situation from his perspective, illuminating patterns I might have overlooked and providing strategies to support his emotional growth. It reminded me that parenting should not be solitary. It is strengthened by outside perspectives, resources, and guidance that help fill in the gaps we cannot always see ourselves. Therapy and counseling also provided structured spaces for both of us to work through emotions, practice communication, express frustrations safely, and rebuild trust after the outburst. My son learned healthy coping mechanisms, and I gained tools to respond calmly and effectively in the future. By addressing root causes rather than symptoms, we began a process of long-term improvement rather than temporary resolution. Seeking help became a turning point, one that transformed a painful incident into a meaningful journey of understanding, growth, and stronger emotional connection. Through professional guidance, my son and I were able to heal, learn, and move forward together in a healthier, more supportive way. After addressing the immediate conflict and seeking help, my focus shifted to rebuilding the relationship with my son. The incident had left both of us shaken. He had acted out in anger, and I had been hurt and confused. But it also created an opportunity to strengthen our bond through understanding, trust, and open communication. I realized that addressing the behavior alone wasn't enough. Repairing the emotional connection was equally important. Rebuilding our relationship began with listening. I made a conscious effort to hear his perspective without judgment or interruption, allowing him to feel safe expressing his frustrations and fears. By validating his emotions, I helped him understand that anger or disappointment is normal, but must be expressed respectfully. He was hesitant at first, unsure of how his feelings would be received, but with gentle encouragement and consistent reassurance, he slowly began to open up. At the same time, I worked on teaching him healthier ways to manage his emotions. We practiced strategies together: deep breathing, describing feelings with words, and using constructive outlets like drawing or physical activity. These lessons required repetition and patience, and I modeled these techniques myself to show him what emotional regulation looks like.
Every small success, an apology, a calm conversation, or a moment of self-control was acknowledged, reinforcing positive behavior and rebuilding trust. Consistency and empathy became essential. I maintained clear expectations for respect and safety while also showing understanding when he struggled. This balance between firmness and compassion helped him feel supported rather than punished. Rebuilding our relationship also meant repairing emotional bonds through intentional time together. Shared meals, walks, and undistracted conversations reminded us of the love and care at the core of our relationship, gradually replacing tension with trust and security. Over time, these moments deepened our connection and created a warmer, more communicative environment. Ultimately, rebuilding a relationship after conflict is a gradual process. It requires patience, empathy, guidance, and consistency. By listening, teaching emotional regulation, and creating positive shared experiences, I was able to transform a painful incident into an opportunity for growth, deepening our understanding and strengthening the resilient bond between my son and me.
Looking back on this entire experience, I realized that the most important lesson extends far beyond the initial incident with the soup. What began as a shocking and painful moment became a powerful opportunity for reflection, growth, and transformation for both of us. The key takeaway is that conflict, even when overwhelming or frightening, can open the door to understanding, empathy, and stronger relationships when approached thoughtfully. One of the first lessons is the importance of emotional regulation. Both children and adults experience intense emotions, but how we respond shapes the outcome. Staying calm in the face of anger, setting clear boundaries, and choosing patience over retaliation are essential for managing conflict. By modeling these behaviors, parents teach their children to handle frustration constructively. Another crucial lesson is that behavior is often a message. My son's extreme reaction was not about the soup. It was a signal of deeper emotions, stress, and unmet needs. Recognizing this shifted my perspective from blame to empathy. Every outburst, no matter how disproportionate, has a root cause that deserves attention and guidance. Responding thoughtfully enables parents to address underlying issues while reinforcing trust and safety. Seeking support is also vital. No parent has all the answers, and professional guidance can provide tools, strategies, and new insights. Reaching out for help is not a sign of weakness, but a proactive step toward growth, strengthening both the parent and child. In the end, the moral is clear. Love alone is not always enough. Thoughtful guidance, calm responses, and consistent support turn difficult moments into opportunities for growth and emotional development. A seemingly trivial incident like a child reacting to unsalted soup can become the catalyst for profound learning, connection, and emotional development. From this experience, I learned that every challenge carries a lesson, and every difficult moment can be transformed into a stepping stone towards stronger relationships and healthier emotional habits. If this story touched your heart, if it made you pause and reflect, even for a moment, please give this video a like. It helps this message reach others who may need it. If you want more real-life stories about parenting, emotions, healing, and personal growth, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming videos. And most importantly, share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever experienced a moment where something small revealed something much deeper? Your story might help someone else feel understood and less alone. Remember, difficult moments often carry the most powerful lessons. Talking, listening, and reflecting are the first steps toward healing and stronger relationships. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourself and the people you love.